Good morning, and welcome to another edition of Operation Our Town. This is taking back our neighborhoods, and we really mean that. We're starting out today with police officer Kerry Hoover from Martinsburg, Pennsylvania. Welcome, Kerry.
Thank you.
Kerry's pretty much a perfect example of what Operation Our Town is all about. Law enforcement, recovery, and community interaction. That's where we came in. We're here to talk to Kerry today about community interaction, especially young people. Kerry, you're about 7'8" or something, right?
Not quite.
How tall are you?
6'8".
6'8".
Yes.
Now, I'm a little kid, 2'4", okay? And I see policemen on the street. Do I start to cry?
No, I hope not.
Is it, that's a challenge, though, isn't it?
Yes.
To put that communications out. Here you are with a uniform and a badge.
Yes.
And maybe some children have never been exposed to that kind of thing. You know, we're raised in a home now where everybody's loving. We can't lick the kids anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, we actually, about 12 years ago, I started going to our elementary school in Martinsburg and greeting the kids in the mornings when they're coming to school. Stand outside the door and give them high fives and fist bumps, things like that.
Wow.
Interacting with them that way so that they realize that I'm not a big mean person. You know, I'm a normal human being, and I'm just like one of their parents or, any other adult. And I can deal with kids that way.
That's wonderful. Do they respond well?
Yes, they do, yeah. And I've noticed over the last 12 years that the kids are a lot easier to deal with out of school then, because they know me as a friend. We want to infer that police officers are friends rather than enemies, so that if they need help, they can come. They're not afraid to approach us.
Kerry, when you talk about friends, okay, Martinsburg, the whole Cove area has always had a special place in my heart. I always envision the Cove area of Mayberry, okay? And so with your smile, you could be Andy, okay? And I'm sure that the community's glad to have you there. But do the kids ever, tell you some secrets or anything? Or do they ever say, Billy has 2 sandwiches instead of 1?
Oh yeah, yeah. And I get a lot of that in the mornings when I'm greeting the kids at the school. They'll tell me all kinds of secrets, and especially the younger grades, they'll tell you anything. They're
Really?
Not afraid to tell you anything.
Okay.
And so we get a lot of that type of information.
So this is not only a recognition but communication opportunity for these young people.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the school district cooperates?
Oh yeah. We do a lot of programs within the school, and then we also do programs in the middle school and the senior high school, so that we continue that communication with the kids throughout their school career.
They've got a terrific school district out there also. Good superintendent, well run.
Yes.
And tell me now, do they have people inside the school like we hear in television that check everybody that comes in and out? Or does the police department do that, or does somebody else do that?
No.
They don't do that out there.
No, but especially with the elementary school, with me being there in the mornings to greet the kids, I know a lot of the parents are happy that we have a presence there.
I'm going to touch on what I hope will be a recurring theme of this program. A couple episodes ago, we had a young man named Bo Latchford who's recovering. And he told us the story of how he got involved in drugs when he was 12 years old because he was good in sports and other kids, he wanted to belong on the team, and he got involved. And I said, well, now you have a chance to help those children. And he said, 12 years old is too late.
Yeah.
He said, these children are being approached at 6 and 7 years old.
Yes.
That seems incredible to me.
Yeah. Yeah, and a lot of, there are some kids now that are exposed to that at home, even before they get to school, with parents using illegal drugs and things like that.
Wow.
So they are being exposed to it at a much younger age.
So the parents are on drugs, the children are exposed to it,
Yes.
Oh my, your job must be, sometimes it must break your heart.
Yeah,
Okay.
it does. It can be very frustrating at times.
Oh my, young children that age.
Yeah.
I remember we had a police officer on here once that said they had a hit from a dog on a locker in the school.
Mm-hmm.
And it turns out that it wasn't the student that was using drugs, it was his parents.
Yeah. Well,
so
and
your job is really complicated. Not just about enforcing the law.
Yeah.
It's about communicating with people and making that community a safe place for everybody.
Exactly. And that's one of the reasons we try to spend so much time in the schools, to help try to educate the kids on what's right and wrong as far as drugs and things like that.
Oh my. At the risk of being handcuffed and led away, do you have your gun on now?
I do.
So this is a 24-hour, you're a police chief, but you're really never off duty, are you?
That's correct.
Oh my. Do you ever get invited to like scout troops and things like that to talk about police business?
Yes. Yeah. When we just did a tour of our station last week to a scout group.
What are they interested in? What are young people saying to you? What interests them?
As far as police work, they want to. If they come to our station, they want to see the car. They want to see a jail if we have a jail, which we don't. But most of the questions from the young folks are about the equipment on our duty belt, and especially when I'm in the schools, they want to know why I'm allowed to have a gun in school when they know that no one else is allowed to have a gun. So we get a lot of very interesting questions.
Both my younger brothers were police officers, one state and one city. And I never hesitate to tell people how proud I am of them and what they have accomplished in their communities. And I'm sure the community's proud of you. Do you have a family, Kerry?
I do.
And that consists of?
My wife and my daughter.
Okay. And how old's your daughter?
She's 21.
So she's out of the school system now?
Yeah, she's in college.
So these kids that you're communicating with, I always felt at my age, talking to a young person is like traveling in space. I don't know how they communicate. I don't know the words they use. And I certainly don't know the music they like. Right. So basically, I give them a dollar bill and tell them how happy I am that they're smiling. Because that's the only communications I have. But you have to break through that.
Yeah.
How do you get to it? How do you get to a young person?
My wife's a first grade teacher in Spring Cove. So that helps me with the
communication.
The communication and the day-to-day, the new trends that the kids have and things like that. So helps keep me on top of that kind of stuff.
Was your family history, was there police officers in your family?
I had an uncle that was a police chief in Martinsburg.
Okay.
And I've got some cousins that were police officers and a brother-in-law. So, yeah, we have.
So it's in the family.
Yeah.
You look good in your uniform, I'll tell you that. and reaching out to young people must give you a very special sense of reward.
Yeah.
At night when you get home and you say, today I helped somebody.
Yeah.
Do you ever see one of these little children that are like, well, they're not little anymore. I mean, these children at 6 and 7 years old are pretty sophisticated.
Yeah. Yeah, they are.
They see things on TV and
they're exposed to a lot more today than what we were.
How do you explain that to a young person, that what you see on television with all these people using drugs, that it's not okay?
Right. Well, and that's some of the programs that we do in the schools. We talk about drugs and why to stay away from drugs and what consequences they'll face if they get involved with drugs.
How does Operation Our Town affect you? Can you see a direct relationship between Operation Our Town and what you're doing in that southern Blair area?
Yeah. Operation Our Town has supplied us with different equipment. They've supplied us with funds to do drug raids, things like that. So they're really helpful with getting the word out about drug abuse.
Like I said, when you said drug raids, I had this picture of a hay wagon pulling up in front of the place and two policemen jumping off, because that's my image of the Cove. It's such a nice place to be.
Yeah.
And you get to live there and protect the people.
Yeah.
What caused you to think about that particular aspect? Did you ever think that your job would be to approach young people, or when you first became a policeman, did you think about chasing the bad guys?
That's basically what I got into police work for, was to chase the bad guys. After I got into police work, and of course I married a first grade teacher.
Okay.
And I found that educating the especially the younger children on the rights and wrongs would ultimately make my job easier, because I won't have to deal with them as they get older if they're taking the right path in life.
Are you getting any communication from these states where they've legalized drugs and about their problems or non-problems?
I've been reading some articles, and I know that some of the states that are legalizing drugs, the surrounding states are seeing an increase in DUI drug arrests. And the states that are, especially the states that are legalizing marijuana, are seeing a great increase in their DUI arrests as far as drug-related DUIs.
Kerry, you're a fine young man, and you're a good-looking police officer. If I was in trouble, I'd want you coming, because they only need one of you. They don't have to send two. And you need to be very proud of the work you're doing out there, because it's a great place to live, and I'm sure you're one of the guys that make it that way.
No, I enjoy it.
What a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you for having me.
Kerry Hoover from Martinsburg. Ladies and gentlemen, don't speed through Martinsburg, because he knows you. We'll be right back. Welcome back. We're joined now by three lovely ladies. And from the Learning Express. That's an interesting name. On my right, to my immediate right, is Sue Barton. And Sue, your relationship to the Express is?
I'm the preschool program director for the Learning Express.
And beside Sue is C.K. Egen. And C.K., your relationship to the school?
I have 3 children who are alums, and I have 1 child who will enter in the fall.
So you have actual experience with the school?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And on my left is Joy Carini. Right, Joy?
Yes.
And Joy, what's your experience with the school?
I have had 4 children who are alum of the preschool.
We have 3 ladies here, 16 years old, with a total of 19 children. Something's wrong with the mathematics, folks. Tell me about the Learning Express. What is that?
It's the school district preschool here in Altoona School District preschool, that is a place where we educate all children who live in the district. If you live in the school district, you can come free of charge to the preschool. We are also the provider for the special ed services for preschool children. So we have children with special needs being educated side by side with typically developing children. The children with special needs are transported because their education is mandated, so we transport them. And the typically developing regular ed students that come are transported by their parents or a designee, and they come. We have half-day sessions, and we are very busy. We've gone from 24 students some 22 years ago to over 600 today.
Wow. Is this is an outreach of the Altoona Area School District?
Yes, indeed.
Taxpayer supported?
Exactly.
Okay.
Taxpayer and some special ed dollars, too, from the federal and state government.
Okay. Now, how does Operation Our Town fit in with this group?
Well, I've been attending some of the meetings with the group, and we talk about preschool education in general in the county. And we work with daycares and preschools and Head Starts and service children itinerantly that need some special education services. And we go out to these places. We all work together to educate the children to be ready for kindergarten. We'll meet together in January, and we'll sit down as a group of preschool teachers and talk about what the issues are that are facing us and how we can address them together to help solve problems. And we ask the teachers of the kindergarten students as they enter the school district what they need our help with and how we can better prepare our students to go on to kindergarten.
What's it? I'm not going to ask you. I'm going to ask CK. What do your children learn there? When they come home, do they say they give you the Pythagorean theorem, or what do they learn?
Well, my boys were there as special ed students. My oldest son, who will be 14, started as a nonverbal autistic student. So he didn't come home saying a whole lot at first, but when he did, it was songs, Pledge of Allegiance, and those were things we celebrated because he didn't have language. So for my boys, it was very different than for my daughter, who was a typically developing student. And I mean, she came home immediately with numbers and letters and colors and words and songs. My 3-year-old hasn't started yet, but I expect pretty much the same from her as well.
I want to tell you, CK, you got me a little choked up here. What must that have been like when your child came home and said or did or sang something? You must have been overwhelmed.
It was, and he started late. He didn't enter the preschool until he was 3.5. He didn't start really going every day until he was 4. And so this was something that we had been dealing with, not being able to communicate with him for a long time. And within a couple weeks of him being in the autistic support class at the Learning Express, he was able to communicate needs and wants to us. And that was huge, because until that time it was a guessing game. Do you want the yogurt or do you want the string cheese? Which one do you want? And it was pointing. Now he could tell us. He could tell us if he had pain. He could tell us if he was uncomfortable. So that was something we have to thank the Learning Express for giving us.
That's just, oh, come on. You've touched my heart.
Thank you.
And I hope the listener's heart, because that is a special story. Okay. Joy, tell me about your children.
My oldest is 16. He was born blind, and because of that, he was enrolled in the Learning Express. And then I have 3 younger ones, ages 12, 11, and 8, who ended up going there as well. We asked, what were the chances we could send a regular ed child. No problem. Sue and Cheryl Tyler at the time said, they're in.
You understand I have another segment to do. I never had any children. We never had any children. And so when I hear stories like this, you say, that's what the community is all about, isn't it? Sometimes in my peer groups, I hear people say, well, I don't have any children in the school district. Why should I be paying school taxes? And then I hear a story like this, and I say, maybe I should be paying more. You must have stories like this all the time.
Well, I think the biggest story to tell about the children that attend the Learning Express is, yes, we have children in there with disabilities and children in there without disabilities, and they're all in there together. And the children don't look at each other and see the differences. They see the similarities. They play together. They're their friends. So what? Somebody has, somebody's autistic or somebody's blind. The children are there together and they form friendships. And these ladies can speak to those friendships that have gone on through those kids' years. And these children, all the children who attend there, are very accepting of every kind of child that is imaginable. They see children with disabilities, adults with disabilities, and they don't react in a negative manner. They're just very accepting, and they get that from the beginning. And that's why it's so important that all these children are in school side by side, because they are all children first.
How long is the school day for these children?
2.5 hours long is all the longer it is. It's a half-day session. We have 2-day-a-week sessions, we have 3-day-a-week sessions, and we have 5-day-a-week sessions, and they're all half-day. So we have a lot of children coming in and out, through the week.
Now, I suppose that from a parent standpoint, the fact that gives parents perhaps some much-needed relief, some time to do things that they need to do for other children.
But then we also get parents who come in and volunteer. Both of these ladies have been in to help volunteer, planning a school carnival, etc. We have parenting classes that we'll offer. We'll offer some evening parent trainings with some initiatives going on in the state, mostly wrapped up around behavior. But we have parents that come in and volunteer and participate in some of the other outreaches that we do. So they get a break in a sense, but they also good parents, like these two I have here, are very interested in what they can do to make their child's upbringing better.
What would the 2.5? What kind of like subject matter do they touch on, or do they just play? Do they?
Well,
there's a learning process here.
There's playtime, but there's a lot of learning process. We bring them in. We use some of the curriculum that is very similar to what is going on in the kindergarten, so that the children are ready to go. But we use other curriculum where we learn about social skills and about behavior. The preschool is burdened with teaching the children how to learn, how to be students, how to feel safe, coming in school knowing that they're going back home to their parents, that school's a secure place to be, that they don't have to worry about that. Is mom going to come get me at 11:30? They learn that at preschool, so that when they get to kindergarten, a lot of that stress is alleviated. It's already gone. And they learn how to appreciate one another, and we talk a lot about the social skills and how to behave in a group. And we talk a lot about decision making, which, are you making the right decisions? And we'll use those words with kids too. Are you making the right decisions? Was that a good decision? Wow, am I glad you decided to do that? We'll say things like that to children to praise the proper decision making that is something they need forever.
Now, I see a lot in the news media about bullying. You saw Kerry Hoover earlier, 6'9", and little me here, and he told me, don't ask me any bad questions. That was probably bullying, right? But do you see any evidence of that in those classes, that you can deal with that at a very early age?
At this age, the children, if they are bullying, it's something they've learned before they've come in, but it doesn't happen very often. We do certainly see it as the children get older and learn those skills, but we're hoping by bringing them all together in a manner where the playing field is even, that they will not begin to bully. And if we see it, we talk about being nice to each other, and we model that. We have a lot of staff in the classrooms where we have the opportunity to model that safe environment.
Wow. CK, tell us a little bit more about your experience with, and first of all, they call this the Learning Express. They don't call it like Altoona School District or whatever. Is there a reason why they don't tag
Well,
it?
we just came up with a name to identify the preschool portion of the school district years ago. And being a railroad community, we went with Express for the train, and we have the train.
It's creative.
Yep, we have the train motto up there, and
wow.
Yeah, so we're always tied though with the school district. It is absolutely a school district program.
That's terrific. CK, let me get back to tell me more about your experiences, the children's experience. Tell me about that.
My oldest son entered as a special ed student. My next son entered as a regular ed student, and within a few months we realized there was an issue there. The teacher saw some red flags, the director at the time saw some red flags, Sue saw some red flags, and they called me in and like, we need to evaluate him. He ended up also being on the autism spectrum, so I have two. He presented differently than his brother, so his education is different. My oldest son is in regular ed at this point at the junior high. He was able to leave the special ed and go on to regular ed. He still gets special ed services when needed, but he's a regular ed student. My younger son is in 6th grade. He is still in an autistic support classroom where he will most likely stay, and it's the best environment for him. My oldest daughter is in 5th grade. She's in the gifted program. And I have to give credit also to Learning Express for that, because she got such a good start right from the beginning. And the teacher that she had noticed that she grasped things quicker and gave her more to do. And as I said, my 3-year-old, she's just raring to go. She's going to walk into that building like she owns the place. So I'm hopeful for her.
Sue, we talked earlier, and you shared with me your husband's name.
Yeah.
He's a good guy.
Yeah.
Well known in the community. Share with our audience who you're married to.
I'm married to Rob Egen, the general manager of the Altoona Curve.
Does the Curve, I can't believe that there aren't things the Curve does for these children. Is that right?
We've had donations for our carnival,
Yeah.
which CK has run in the past, our carnival, so absolutely.
Yeah, when my children were there, and even after my older children had left, the Curve does bring out mascots, and they do a Curve in the Community program.
The Autism Walk has been held at the Curve.
They've Dr. Seuss Week come in and read books. Does having special needs students tug on my husband's heart a little bit and make the Curve more available? Sure. And I'm standing right behind him saying, you're going to say yes.
That's wonderful. Folks, go buy some game tickets.
Please.
Let's support the people that support us. Chamber has a terrific program about buying locally, and what better way to buy local than to go and see a sporting event, and quite frankly, when you go to that field, it's a social event.
Absolutely.
Sue, tell me about, are there what requirements do I have to meet? Are there economic or social requirements or what?
If your child has special needs, your child comes in at age 3. Whenever they turn 3, they come in.
Regardless of your economic?
We don't take
Whatever.
any data on economics.
Okay.
And regular ed students come in for 2 years, supported by the district. There again, we don't take any data at all on income. Anybody can come. We do get referrals from other agencies. We get referrals from physicians. We get referrals from children and youth. We get referrals from other agencies who are dealing with these students on a different level. So they'll call and alert a parent that we're there and that a child can come over for preschool. But it is a free preschool to anybody of any income. It's supported by the school district.
Wow. Joy, let's talk about you for a little bit and your family. You told us you had 4 children, and give us their ages again.
16. Taylor is 16 and going to be a sophomore in high
You're 12
school.
years old. The lady's 12 years old. Look at her.
I wish. My Jordan is 12. He will be going to the junior high this fall. Andrew is 11. He will enter 6th grade at McAuliffe Heights. And my daughter Ashley is 8, and she will be in 3rd grade at McAuliffe Heights.
That's wonderful. And that's the family?
Yes.
Okay, now tell me, what are the, now they're up in age now. They can look back. And do they ever say, I'm so glad for that experience, or what can I do to give back?
Yes, my kids still enjoy coming over to the preschool once in a while. At the end of the day or whatever, we'll come over once in a blue moon. If I forget something at the end of the day or whatever, we'll run back. And they get a big kick out of coming in and seeing.
So because they've received something special, you think they're prepared to give something back?
Absolutely.
Special.
Absolutely.
That's so wonderful.
They have enjoyed, they've all gotten to know kids of special needs. Having a brother with special needs has helped them. CK's children and our children are very, very good friends, and they don't see each other as having special needs. These kids are all just one big happy family.
So you now go back and volunteer in a day, and you see these young people coming into the program.
Yes, and I also work in the preschool with Sue.
That's got to be, you got to be, it makes you feel good.
It's fun. I enjoy the kids.
I worked at a bank, and my motto was, every day I'm going to help somebody, and I think I did. Sometimes I help myself to the money. That's why I'm not still in the banking business.
Some days we want to help ourselves with some of these children, too.
But tell me, so now you have like a second family in the school district.
Yes.
You've got to get attached to these kids.
You do. You very definitely do. It's very rewarding.
Oh, my. Do you hear stories about their home?
Sometimes we do. The kids will share things some days, and sometimes good, sometimes not so much. But
that's just it's got to be a happy day when you go in and see those kids smiling.
It is.
So we haven't talked about you. Tell us about you. Is there a family?
Yes, indeed, and my 3 children came to the Learning Express as well. So I have been teaching there for a little over 20 years. I've been with Altoona School District a little longer than that. But I have very much enjoyed watching my children grow up and accepting all children together because they've had that experience with all the kids in there together. So my husband and I are both educators, and we've been at it, yeah.
I get so upset sometimes when I hear they're interviewing somebody on national television. They say, no changes, it's still like it was 50 years ago. Well, I was there. Okay, it's different, folks. It's different. We are a more accepting society. We are more inclusive. We have reached out to people that we, 50 years ago would have been ostracized in the community and separated. And I believe that's a tribute to our educational system and our family values and whatever, and this area we live in. This is a nice area. Sometimes we forget, we're pretty safe here. Regardless of the bad things that we hear, compared to some other places, this is a great place to live. Do you ever get thank you? Do you ever get parents coming back and say thank you?
Yes, indeed. And we get children who come back. And I've been there long enough now that some of our previous preschool children are now parents, and they bring their children to us. So, and we get, aunts and uncles will send the nieces and nephews in. So we do get a lot of word of mouth recommendation. We get a lot of social service recommendation too, and we work a lot with other agencies in helping our families at Christmas time or other times that they're in need. The community is very supportive, and I did mention a carnival we have. The community is very supportive of that too. They'll give prizes or money to help us run the carnival and have things for the children to do. So we're very much supported. We feel very much a part of the community.
Ladies, I can't tell you what a pleasure this has been for me.
Thank you.
Okay, I wish I could give you each a hug, but there's a microphone here, I can't move. and just tell you thank you for a job well done. These people you're training are the very people that are going to get good jobs, pay taxes, and support my Social Security checks. We need more of that.
Yes.
We need more of that from the entire community. Thank each of you, and God bless you and your challenges. Thank you. We'll be right back, folks. Thank you. Welcome back. Well, we're joined by two other special people that some of you may recognize and most of you should recognize. This is Joe Hurd on my far right, who's the president of the Chamber of Commerce and executive director. And Joe, welcome. Good to see you again.
Dean, good to see you as well.
Joe's involved in so many things. We keep running into each other every place but an intersection, thank goodness. and joining us is Denny Dahl, president of the Reliance Bank. Denny, welcome to you too.
It's good to be here.
And
Thanks.
Congratulations on the things that are happening at Reliance. You guys are doing a terrific job in the community.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're reaching out, involved in a lot of things, and that's special. Joe, we're going to talk about pre-K programs. What's the Chamber? I always envisioned you not necessarily helping young people, but if they had $1, you took the $1 and gave them a membership card in the Chamber of Commerce.
That's a good down payment for a membership over time. So, yeah, the Chamber has been involved now probably 5 or 6 years. We started through our Basics program, which is a program that brings businesses and the education system into a collaborative type partnership. We started an early childhood education subcommittee of Basics just to kind of take a look at some things that we had some concerns about. We know from a business standpoint that the very early childhood years are ones where many things, good and bad, happen with young people. And as a business organization, certainly this is our future workforce, and we want to make sure that, at least in Blair County, that we do everything that we can do to make sure that our young people get off on the right foot and get the type of attention they so well deserve.
That's really far-sighted. That's serious thinking. A tribute to the Chamber and to you guys. And Denny, your relationship to this is?
Well, as an executive with a local business, one of the hardest things we have to do is to keep recruiting talented staff people and talented leadership people for our organization. And it starts at that early age. Our bank took did a recent assessment of the management leadership and realized that more than half of our leadership team was going to retire within the next 10 years. And we need to make sure that we have people in this community at all levels that can move into those positions. Our bank's an independent local bank, and we want to keep it that way, and we feel this is one of the ways we can do that.
That's terrific. And so you guys actually went out and visited one of these classes. Tell me about your visit, Denny.
Well, I'm a former school director, so I have a different perspective even than business. And I have to tell you, my morning at that center was very enlightening. I thought the kids learned at a different level than I expected because I had not been in a site like that. I thought the staff was engaged and compassionate, and the kids were very reactive to that. And it seemed like a great start. And that's really what I think is important. It seems like it gives them a great opportunity to have a beginning in the education process that will be good for a long time.
You heard our stories from CK and Joy. Wow. Seeing that firsthand must have been a terrific experience.
Yeah.
Joe, tell me, you must have learned some things there.
Yeah, actually, Dean, my role was more of a coordination to try to get business leaders, 2 or 3 at a time, to go to some of our early learning centers. And we've got many very good early childhood programs in Blair County, but at this particular time there are 4 in particular that are considered Star 4 programs, which the state evaluates based on a variety of criteria, mostly the type of education and the level of education they provide, the type of staff people that they employ, some things like that. So we had 2 or 3 people visit each of the 4 Star 4 programs, and now those business leaders, through the efforts of Rodney Green, who is the chair of our early childhood subcommittee, we're going to be getting them back together and sitting down and trying to figure out what businesses' real role and responsibilities are related to early childhood, and what business may be able to do that's very important and right now might not be happening to the degree that it needs to.
It's not all business, Joe. I read your columns in the chamber paper, well written, and sometimes very comical.
Thank you.
You must hear some good jokes out there that you can use in your column. What's your latest good joke?
I never hear any jokes.
Never hear any jokes.
No.
So, what did the butcher call his wife?
How did the butcher introduce his wife?
How did the butcher introduce his wife?
I forget.
Like Meat Patty?
Meat Patty.
Meat Patty. You know, folks, those kids can teach us something about humor. You know, this community, we've talked about the community before, close-knit community, people caring about each other. You guys are examples of that, reaching out back into the community. Then, how does Operation Our Town, both of you are strong supporters, tell me how that interaction takes place, because that's really what we're trying to do here, is make sure these young people are safe from influences. Either of you.
Well, from our perspective, we've been involved with Operation Our Town since the beginning, and we make both a strong personal and a financial commitment. We think it's money well invested. And it's important. One of the key things that our bank is committed to is kids at all levels, whether it be education, anything that will support the children, and ultimately they become good corporate citizens and good community citizens as well. So those 2 things are important to our bank. So that's the reason we're supporting the program. We think it's effective and it's a good investment for our bank.
Thank you. Joe?
Yeah, when we put together our subcommittee, one of the people that was part of that subcommittee was Shauna Hoover.
Okay.
From Operation Our Town, and the suggestion was made at that time that a roundtable group be put together to deal with issues related to early childhood education. Since we already had the subcommittee in place, it made sense for us to just offer our subcommittee as that roundtable group with Operation Our Town. So we didn't need to reinvent the wheel. So our subcommittee has a dual role, not only in looking at things from the chamber perspective, but also serving as Operation Our Town's early childhood roundtable group.
You know, it's amazing. Young people, we tend to think of today. But these are the young people that 15, you're absolutely right, 15 years from now, they're going to be the workforce. And we've got businesses that would like to relocate into areas where there's people trained to meet their needs. And so recognizing that very early on and developing it through the process, that's got to be a challenge to everybody. The school district facing that challenge, do you think?
Well, I think it's our job as business leaders to make sure that we communicate with the school districts to let them know what we need.
Okay.
And sometimes that communication isn't as vibrant as it should be, but we need to make sure that they know what we're looking for in terms of talent, skill sets, cultural issues, and to make sure that those are people that when they become employable that we can hire them.
The school districts have such a great understanding, a much better understanding than the business community about the importance of the early childhood experience. They see the kids coming into kindergarten either ready or not ready. And they understand that the brain development that takes place in young people takes place in that 3-year-old, 4-year-old, 5-year-old period of time in a child's life. And that's the real thing that I think we need to continue to emphasize to the business community, to really pay attention to that point in the child's life, because it's so easy for them to fall behind. And the ones who are falling behind statistically are the ones who are creating difficulties in our community later on in their lives, because they get frustrated, they drop out of school, they get involved in crime, they get involved in drugs, and it doesn't take very much evidence to indicate that we're either correcting our problems early or we're creating them, and we're doing our best to.
Interesting philosophy, Joe. Denny, tell me a little bit about your family. Married, children, local?
I have 4 children. 3 are productive, out of college, and have jobs, and one is still at University of Pittsburgh. One is an elementary teacher, so she sees this every day. But the 2 youngest were involved in preschool, 3 and 4 years old, and I've seen the benefit of that just with them, and how when they got to kindergarten and first grade, they were so much further ahead. And I see it now, as it relates to their college education, and how much. I won't say it's been easier, but I think it's been. They've been able to deal with those challenges a lot easier.
They haven't moved back home?
No, I don't think they will.
Then they won.
Yeah.
You won. Yeah. The education helped.
No.
Joe, a lot of people forget that you did some things before you were the director of the Chamber of Commerce, and very involved.
There's really been no proof of any of those things. So.
But tell us a little bit about your background and family. That people realize how much a part of this community you guys are.
Well, my wife Kelly, who was a teacher in the Hollidaysburg area school district, we have 3 children. My son Brennan will be a freshman at West Virginia University this fall, and my daughter Delaney is a junior at Hollidaysburg Senior High School, and my daughter McKenna will be a freshman at Hollidaysburg. So they keep me very busy, and my past experiences, my degree is in journalism, so I've had some writing experience. I somehow managed to get into long-term care and was the administrator of the Lutheran home in Hollidaysburg for a few years, and also coached some basketball from time to time. So it's been a very active and somewhat productive life.
This is a really complex society we're in today. Mm-hmm. If you wake up in the morning and listen to the news, you don't want to be there at lunchtime, okay? Because it can get a little scary. Denny, if you could reach out and change one thing that would make our community better, not necessarily, for whatever reason, if you could change one thing maybe today, what would you do? What would you change?
Well, I'll relate a story, and it'll kind of get an answer to your question. A few years ago, I had a chance to visit the state correctional institution at Rockview in Center County, and walk through the cell block and meet with the warden and meet with the advisors there. And the single thing that came out of that conversation was most of the inmates either had little or no education, or the education they had was poor and unsupported at home, or they had a learning disability. And if you think about early childhood education, it gets at all those things. So there's the answer.
Wow.
And if you want that to be reversed, it doesn't start when they're 19 or 18 or 21 or 25. It starts when they're 3 years old, to make sure that culturally we give them an opportunity to succeed.
No wonder you're the boss. You're a smart guy. I mean, I had never thought about that direction before, but you're absolutely right. Education, I guess, does play a big part in our penal system.
Right.
And Joe, how about you? If you could change one thing, what would you like to reach out?
I agree very much with Denny. I mean, education is critically important. I think in our community, I think the one thing I would change would be the mindset that a lot of people have that maybe they underappreciate just exactly what this community has to offer. And I think sometimes it takes an opportunity to get away and see what happens in other places, and sometimes we don't take that close look at the many outstanding things that are happening here and the exceptional people that are making those things happen. And so I think all of us can kind of step back from time to time and be very happy with.
Joe, I will tell you, when I retired, my wife and I lived in a couple different states, and I had a couple different employers. And when I retired, before I retired, I spent a year, 6 months reading travel magazines and retirement magazines, and I had all these places circled, and we were going to visit. And one by one, I realized that we've got it all. We've got, for retirees, we've got a great tax structure. We live in a community that's relatively safe for, I don't mind walking the streets anywhere in this community that I just feel safe. You go out, you run into people you know and neighbors. When you got a problem, somebody's there to help you. I mean, this is a special place to live. Maybe Kerry, Hoover, maybe we're all the Cove area. Maybe this is Mayberry we live in, and you're right. The biggest complainers I hear are people who were born and raised here, and they're saying, well, I should have done blah blah blah. But yet, when you start to compare, there may be a place better, but I don't know about it. Mm-hmm. And that's why we're here, and that's why a lot of people here. This place is special because of guys like you, people like you. I'm going to reach out again, folks. I don't want to make it sound like this is one of those shows but dollars help. These people volunteer. We heard the ladies talk about the time they volunteer and the things they give back. You can give back to a couple dollars, your time. Call somebody. What can I do to help? There's always a need for more people in our community to help somebody else. And sometimes just a phone call. My wife and I, like I said, we don't have any children. The only calls I get are from bill collectors, and they don't want to talk very long. They just want to know where the check is. So, friends reaching out really makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, sure does.
We're going to come back in a couple minutes, and we're going to talk to our entire group about some things they see in our community and some things you might be interested in. We'll be right back. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to wrap up here with some some interesting questions and answers from our guest, whom you've met before, but I'll introduce him again because sometimes I don't remember everything. Kerry Hoover, the Chief of Police in Martinsburg. We have Sue Barton from the Learning Express, part of the Altoona Area School District. My good friend Denny, who's president of Reliance Bank, and I'm sure most of you recognize it because of their service in the community. And Joe Hurd, who's our director of the Chamber of Commerce, and another man who's very active. And I'm going to start with Joe and Denny again. We talked about job requirements, that we're meeting the job requirements. What are the job requirements that we should be meeting for the future? Joe, start with you.
Well, beyond I think the regular educational experiences and necessities that our job market has, I think there are a lot of soft skills that we're really putting a lot of attention to, because we find that employers are not necessarily too enthralled with some of the younger people that are coming into the workforce. Our county has had a reputation for a very long time for its work ethic and for the people who have made the county what it is in terms of employment and family-sustaining businesses. And our young people, we are concerned that sometimes come in with a little bit of a sense of entitlement and don't necessarily have the same philosophy on work than that some of our
saying they don't have the work ethic?
Well, I'm saying that we need to maybe do a better job making them understand what the integrity of work is all about, and why you still need to pay your dues, in terms of your attendance and things that a lot of business people are telling us is a very difficult thing for them to rationalize when they hire some people.
That's an interesting thought process. I never thought that we might need to integrate work ethic to people who'd say, it's not just sitting behind a computer. There's maybe some work to be done. Denny, a couple shows ago, we had the personnel manager from a major employer in the area, and they said that they would screen 12, 14 people for a job, and they would say to them, you come in next Wednesday and we'll start the training process, and we'll do the drug test at 9 in the morning or something, and about 6 of them don't show up. Now, I know you guys have a stable workforce at Reliance, and the people are friendly and knowledgeable, but do you see any of those same things happening?
We see some trouble recruiting the skill sets that we need. The written and verbal communication is not always what we would like. In our business is relationship management, so the ability to communicate is pretty important. So we do see that critical thinking skills that you talked about that are important even in that early education process is very important, because our job is risk management. We have a lot of different risks that we need to manage every day, so critical thinking. But the other thing, to get back to Joe, what Joe was saying is the Gen X and Gen Yers, they're different people than the baby boomer group. So we need to treat them differently too. We need to acknowledge those differences and find ways to leverage those differences. And as much as I'd like to recreate me, that's not going to happen. So I just need to understand what those differences are and try to work through them. And the companies that do that well will get the workforce and will get the talent. And those of us who ignore it probably won't.
That's an interesting perception. And to you parents out there, I hope you were listening to what he said. The next time you go out to dinner, as I see frequently, and father's on the cell phone and mother's texting and the two children are playing games or doing something else, maybe a little conversation would be a good way to train your young people to get ready for the future, because you're absolutely right. Conversation, the art of conversation, sometimes just apologizing. You know, I feel people today sometimes have a hard time saying, I'm sorry. I say I'm sorry a lot because I make a lot of mistakes. Kerry, we talked about your area of expertise in law enforcement and whatever, and I'm sure that every community is facing the same thing. Do you sense a more aggressive approach to drug usage or less? What do you? Are we making any progress in the drug war?
I think with the help of Operation Airtown, we are making some progress. As I stated before, they help fund drug investigations and things like that. So I think that's a big help with our struggle with the drug war. But education is another very important part, and I think everybody here agrees that, you know, we're on the right track there. We're trying to educate our kids about drugs and the problems that drug abuse causes.
Talking about recovery, we keep talking about back into the community, make these people productive citizens. Not only can they help us, they can help other people that need help. They can reach out. Sue, tell me about, we've heard Kerry talk about the police in the school district. What do you have? Do they have like armed guards for these children when they come in, or what happens?
We do have the police force in the Altoona School District, and they're a very visible force, and they come around and they visit our school, and the schools are doing a lot with security, so the children are getting accustomed to that. But when the police officers come in, we make sure that they talk to the children and that the children see them as a safe person to go to when they are in need. We have the state police come in with Officer Friendly, and he brought a robot, and we had a big assembly, and so the children got to have some fun with that. Some of the children we teach have no experience with police officers. Unfortunately, some of the children we teach have some negative experiences where police have come to their home for their parents or a sibling or something. So our children don't always see the police officers as a helpful person, and so we want to make sure that they do know that when they're out in the public, and if they need help and they see an officer, to go to the officer. We have firemen come in too. We have firemen that will be in front of the children and put their turnout gear on in front of the kids so that the kids can see that scary looking fireman, and all that stuff is really just that same guy that was there a second ago. So we want our children to know that our community helpers are really just that, community helpers, and they will help us, and we need to go to them when we need that help. And the school district has the officers, like I say, that come through and meet and greet and talk to the kids, and they come through in full uniform, and so the children are accustomed to seeing them in a happy sort of way, not when there's something terrible going on, but a happy and a communication that works for the children as well, so that they know that that's a positive force.
So this is more than just a little bit of education. This is an integration into the community. Mm-hmm. They need to know that people like Kerry out there are good people, mm-hmm. and they're to help them.
And they're the right people to go to.
And I will tell you, I'm an old guy, but when I see a police car with the lights on, sometimes if I just see a police car, I get a little nervous because I got to look down at that speedometer and make sure he's not looking for me. Ladies and gentlemen, we've had a terrific show today, an emotional show. We've heard about young people and what this community is doing for its young people. Regardless of your social status, regardless of your economic status, there's an opportunity here for young people to become aware of the society they live in, to be friendly with the police department, to not be afraid of the fire department, to understand that business creates jobs and creates opportunities, and they need to be prepared for those opportunities. And Sue, your role in that process is just goes beyond thanks. It's
well,
wonderful.
Thank you.
We hope you're going to join us again, and we hope you're going to do your part to make this an even better community than it already is. Thank you very much.